I was like, all right. I looked around and I was like, okay, people on my level. There's somebody on my team who has his PhD. There's somebody on my team. Like two
Oh,
of my other counterparts have their PEs right now. And so I looked around at that and I was like, okay, no, I at least I have to try this. The goal is to get the
okay.
PE. The third attempt is where I really, really tried. I had taken the PPI to pass class. I was super tired. It was a lot. Also had a commute.
So like how did you overcome all that and you're like, let me just keep going and give this thing another try?
Once I identified that time was my biggest factor, that's what led me to your course. And once I
Hmm.
saw how organized and how structured your course was, I was like, oh yeah, I've struck gold because it was worth the investment for sure.
Or was there any like
Mm.
way of studying and learning the material and make sure you retain it for your FE exam?
Advice that I should have gotten was to,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna steal all these tips. How did you feel when you got the results that you passed?
Oh my goodness. I got the email and I got a badge. And I
Wow.
said, a badge?
Yeah.
And I said, what a cruel joke. If they're sending me a badge and I saw that green pass and I cried again. Oh my goodness. I literally felt the weight lift off.
Marci, can you tell us a little bit about your background? When did you graduate and what did you study in college?
Yeah, so I actually, straight out of high school, went to the Fort Valley State University, and I went there on a dual degree scholarship. It was a 3-2 scholarship, so the idea is to get a math degree in 3 years, and then you get an engineering degree in a field or a major of your choice in 2 years. And so I did the math degree kind of in 3.5. It took like 3 full semesters and like a half a summer semester. And I majored in math, got my math degree. And then when it was time to transfer, I ended up transferring to the University of Arkansas. And that is where I majored in civil engineering. So with the math degree, I graduated in May of 2014. With the engineering degree, I graduated in December of 2017.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. As I mentioned before our interview, before I actually did civil engineering, I was a math major. And then
Yeah.
we got to the classes where you have to prove everything and there's like no numbers. And I'm like, okay, I'm out of here.
No,
I
I
want to
get
go.
it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, okay, time to switch major. And
Yeah.
then I went to civil engineering. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very impressive how you got both degrees.
Yeah.
Um, so tell us a little bit about so 2017,
Mhm.
that's recent-ish. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh wow, we're already 2025.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
w w like when you started preparing for the FE exam, did you feel like your college classes helped you prepare for it? Did you remember some of the subjects, material that you studied?
This time around, I definitely felt like the classes helped. Like everything
Mm,
started clicking when I started studying this time around, like for my fourth attempt.
okay.
So I definitely feel like the classes helped. And I couldn't see not having had the civil engineering classes and then trying to learn all this
Mm,
just based off practicing for the FE exam. I think it would have been a lot harder. But not impossible. Not impossible, but
yep.
definitely more challenging for sure.
Oh, I agree with that 100%. But we did have couple, I don't know if you watched those students. We had couple students who passed their FE with no engineering background.
But
Like
no,
they did
yeah.
not go to school for engineering. And later on, they just wanted to switch and then they passed their FE, which is pretty impressive. Like myself, I'm like, wow, that must have been really hard.
It must have been really hard, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And this is somebody with like the math major background. It's still
Right.
the way you think in terms, or the way I had to think in terms of getting the math degree is completely different from the way I had to think in terms of the engineering degree. Like even with the proofs and everything, eventually you're going to get to an answer. But with the engineering degree, there's like you're given a set of rules, and it's like, all right, this is the answer,
Mm,
but there are several different ways you can get to that
yeah.
answer. So, it was the way of
Uh,
thinking is different between the two.
Interesting. That's
Yeah.
very interesting. Okay, so you mentioned that you took the FE exam 4 times. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like
Oh
just
yeah.
briefly about your first, second, third, and then so on.
Yeah. Yeah, so I went to University of Arkansas, and with that engineering program, you are required to take the exam before you graduate. But I always
Okay.
tell people like you're not required to pass the exam before you graduate. So
Mm,
I unfortunately waited to my very last semester when you're just trying to graduate. I was just trying to come back to Atlanta where I live and where I work now. Um, and so I just took it. I just took it. It was basically just checking off a box to make sure that I
mm,
could get my degree. And so it's not that I didn't take it seriously. It's not that I didn't try. It's just it was my first time taking the exam, like being fully exposed to it. And we did have like preparation classes, and they worked. They were helpful. But I think when it was all said and done, I was really just trying to check a box. So,
mm,
I kind of underestimated how tough the exam would be.
mm.
So I didn't pass, but I did graduate. So the second time I took it, I really honestly should not have taken it. That should have been a cancel attempt because I was not ready. I think I just went and grabbed or bought like the Michael Lindbergh book and just tried to do a couple problems, and I bought a set of problems and they seemed to be pretty easy. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll be fine. I went and I took that test and I fell asleep during the middle of the exam. So I really honestly should not have
Oh, wow.
taken the exam that time. And I remember waking up and I was like, oh my goodness, I think I had maybe like an hour left. And I was like, I can't remember how long I actually fallen asleep, but I literally fell asleep.
Did you actually?
And
Oh, wow. I thought like you
I
just started getting
literally
sleepy.
fell
You
asleep.
actually.
Because honestly, I
Wow.
hadn't done any practice exams. I hadn't,
Yeah.
built up that endurance
Yeah.
that you need to take the exam. I didn't have any of that. I just was
Yeah.
going to take it and I should have canceled it. So that
Yeah.
was the second attempt. The third attempt was where I really, 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 and I think there was maybe about 2 years in between each of these attempts thus far.
Okay.
The third attempt is where I really, really tried. I had taken the PPI to pass class, and I took the live classes, and the schedule was kind of insane. It was from 7 to 10 every single night, and I did that.
Wow. Okay.
And I was super tired. It was a lot. Also had a commute. I had a really bad commute. Here in Atlanta, I was commuting from like south side of the city to the far north side of the city. Up from I-20 to Georgia 400, if you're familiar with the Atlanta area. It's kind of far in Atlanta traffic. So it was just very, very tiring. But at the same time, I really did feel like I had a chance. I was like, okay, I
Mm.
might be able to actually pass this time. And so I took it for that third attempt. And when I did not pass, I was devastated because I
Oh.
had spent and committed so much time to trying to pass. And it just ended up not even working out. And I think when I got my scores and I compared them, I actually did just as well as I had on the second time where I fell asleep. So
Oh.
I was like, I did all of that just to get to the same place where I didn't, put as much time and effort. It was
Yeah.
devastating. It was hard. It was a hard pill to
Yeah.
swallow. And I think that was in 2021. And so I was like, okay, I think I spent a whole year not even thinking about the test, not even
Yeah.
just, um, and then finally I decided, I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to really give it another go. I need to try something different. So I
Mm.
came across your videos on YouTube and I kept watching some of the interviews and I had tried out some of the problems and the way you taught and everything. I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna go for it. I just went
Mm.
for it. And I just paid for the program and I started the program and then stopped it. And I think I don't know, it just takes a lot to that ramp up time to actually get yourself into the mode of studying and everything
Yeah.
is a lot. And there's just a lot going on in between 21 and 2025 when I actually did pass. But nonetheless, that was the difference between me passing. So maybe like a year went by in between me buying the program and actually like I started it. I maybe got maybe through 4 or 5 topics, and then just life just happened, and I just wasn't as focused as I need to be. I changed jobs,
Mm.
and just kind of let things go. But
Mm.
what this fourth attempt, right before the fourth attempt, I actually changed jobs again. And this time because I was in an environment where I was a lot more motivated and
Mm.
my team, I liked my team a lot better. Just a better working environment all around.
Okay.
Um, I was like, all right. I looked around and I was like, okay, people on my level. There's somebody on my team who has a PhD. There's somebody on my team. Like two
Wow.
of my other counterparts have their PEs right now. And so I looked around at that and I was like, okay, no, I at least I have to try this. The goal is to get the
Okay.
PE. And so that's when so that was August of 2024 when I officially started studying. And it took me 8 months. I studied for 8 months, and we'll probably talk about that in a few minutes. Took me 8 months, and between August of 2024 and March of 2025, I was just made a schedule, went in and passed. I found out that I passed in April. I took it at the end of March, very end of March, and then April like was the next week, and that's when I found out I passed.
Wow. That's quite a journey there.
Yeah.
I want to go back to when you failed the FE exam after you took the course, and then till like when you started taking it seriously, August 2024. Because I think what you said, how you felt so devastated, I think a lot of people can relate to that. Do you remember how did you get yourself back to it and then just kind of gain the confidence to keep going? Because a lot of times when we fail at something, especially when it comes to the FE exam, and at work you see people younger than you and they've already got the P's or FEs, and so you start to really self-doubt, right? So like how did you overcome all that and you're like, let me just keep going and give this thing another try?
Yeah, I've told a couple people this. I've had somebody ask me that as well. And I think after I took a break and just kind of just took a break from it altogether and I didn't
Mm,
even think about it, just lived life. And sure, there were still people in my team who had theirs but I found myself kind of doing other things that just caused me not to think about it.
mm,
But eventually, I think the mindset that helped me to pass was just believing that I could. It was just I really when I looked at it, when I finally went back and I got my new job, and I think that played a big factor, just being in an environment of people who genuinely want to see you succeed
mm,
played a big difference. And I talked to my now supervisor, and he was encouraging. Our group director was very encouraging. I have a coworker who recruited me to our company. He was very encouraging. My whole team, and just that encouragement helped me to really solidify that mindset. Like, no, you can do this. Like, you can
yeah.
actually pass. And so I think that made a big difference in between, you know, the mindset before and the mindset after. And can you repeat the question one more time?
No, you got it. Like I was just basically asking, like, how did you find the motivation and overcome the self-doubt
Mm,
that comes with failing the FE,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, taking a break I think is definitely warranted
Yeah.
after because it gives you time to step back and reflect and just, kind of process what happened, and then it also gives you time to do research on how you can do better
Mm,
and how you
yeah.
can approach it a little differently. I did have some people tell me to keep going after that, but I was just, I needed a break. I was just like, I've put so much time and effort into this.
Yeah.
I just need to just not think about it. So I know people will give you that advice, or for anybody who's watching, may give you the advice to keep going, but it's okay to take a little break, to step back, stop, reflect, and regroup and re-strategize
Yeah.
on how to do it differently. But ultimately, just the motivation came from believing that, I just refusing to believe I couldn't pass. That's I
Yeah.
think really what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. So it's like taking a break always helps for sure. Just give yourself
Mhm.
some time because you don't want to overreact when you're in that state.
Right.
It's hard
Right.
to re-strategize and regroup when you're in that state, right?
Yeah.
Or come up
Yeah.
with a good strategy that's going to actually lead to success.
Hmm.
And then the other thing that I really loved is just the environment that you work in. It's so
Hmm.
important.
So
And I
important.
feel like, because you can believe in yourself, but when you have other people that you think highly of, they
Yeah.
believe in you, you go
Yeah.
like, well, come on, like they believe, I have to start believing in myself, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just different. You're like, they
Yeah. It's
seeing something
contagious.
I'm not, yeah, like it is. Like,
Yeah.
so that's pretty, that's really awesome to have that kind of support and
Yeah.
community that makes sense why you were like, I'm gonna take this fourth attempt like a chance.
Touch
Um,
point.
now here's a question. So you took PPI, right? You told me
Hmm.
that
I took
okay, so
PPS.
you took PPI and you failed. So when you were rethinking about your new approach,
Hmm.
what was your process like? Because I feel like I've had a couple students, and I think you mentioned before we started this interview that you watched a lot of interviews, and I'm
Yeah.
sure you did watch some of them where
Yeah.
they took a course, didn't work, took it the second time, took it. So what made you decide to go like, no, I'm not gonna go for this course again. I'm just
Mhm.
gonna go for something else? Like, how did you come with that? With that?
Yeah. I think I realized that my biggest factor was time. And
Mm,
so, as much as I could give myself time, the thing about the courses is like you have to do it on their timeline. Like it's only a three
mm,
month or a 4 month process. And so, in the ramp up time alone kind of took me 2 months alone just to
right.
get in my
Yeah,
head that like you have to study, you have to be on a
yeah,
strategic schedule every day. So that
yeah.
alone takes 2 months, and to try to cram it all in a short amount of time, that was my biggest factor. That's what I
Mm,
identified as the biggest. If I could change things, what would I do? It was to give myself more time. And so when I was watching YouTube and I saw that your program has a lifetime guarantee, I said I can take all the time I need. Like I
right.
didn't feel rushed, or I didn't
Yeah,
feel the pressure to do it in a short amount of time.
yeah.
And because the homework assignments, there is homework due, and there is, and some nights you may not get as much done, or it was just a lot. So once I identified that time was my biggest factor, that's what led me to your course. And once I
Mm,
saw how organized and how structured your course was, I was like, oh yeah, I've struck gold because it was worth the investment for sure. So I think once I realized that, that is what helped me to like re-strategize,
mm.
reorganize, and really drive it home and pass.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Did you somewhat enjoy the process? So
Mhm.
I'm asking this question. I think my team shared with me this post. I don't know where they found it. It could be Reddit. But there was this student trying to pass the FE exam,
Mhm.
and and the way it was described. It just that person, I don't know if it's a he or she, but they were feeling miserable throughout the whole
Mm,
process. They felt the FE and they just don't want to do it and they're missing out on all these opportunities and
yeah.
like hang out with friends and families. Basically, like you have no life when you're studying for the FE. And so, and so the person was just like generally just tired of studying and just
Mm-hmm.
not enjoying the process. And I want to ask, like, did you experience anything like that? And if you did, how did you overcome it?
I think that third attempt where I was had PP out of pass, yeah, I felt that.
Yeah.
But this fourth attempt where I actually passed, excuse me, I actually enjoyed it. And I told
Interesting.
somebody that, and they were like, "What do you mean?" I was like, honestly, no, like because you presented new ways of learning the topics, and I kept saying to myself, like, had somebody taught it this way, I would have graduated summa cum laude with 4.0, you know. And but I know I can understand feeling like that, especially when
Mm,
there's pressure involved, and especially when there's a time crunch involved,
yeah.
especially and when I say pressure, it can be internal or external. It could be that you need to pass because for promotion that you want or for a raise that you want. I can definitely see how you can get to the point where you're like over it and you don't care and you just are tired. It's not fun.
Yeah.
But for me, like I said, because time was now on my side with the lifetime guarantee, and not that I need to take a lifetime, but also
Yeah.
it gave me the opportunity to pace myself, to go at my
Hmm.
own pace, to do things to where I understood them and to actually learn. And that's
Mm,
probably one of the biggest pieces of advice that I give to our interns or our E1s who haven't passed the F exam. I'm like, learn the material. If you learn it, if you learn the topic, you'll find that it doesn't matter what question that they put in front of you.
hmm.
You'll know the concept and you'll be able to apply that concept to any question that they put in front of you on that exam. And so when you have time on your side and you're able to actually learn and process, you find the
Mm,
joy in it. Because I had to remind myself that I actually enjoyed getting the civil degree in the first place. Like when I finally got my act together academically and really applied myself and changed up the way that I was doing things in my second degree and being more community oriented and learning, not trying to learn it all on my own, but learning in community. I actually enjoyed getting the degree. And so
mm,
the FE exam, I had to take some of those same principles to
mm.
learn and change up my approach and enjoy the process. So
Yeah, I love that. You're very in tune with yourself. And I think people might struggle a little bit with that because you just go like, I recognize that time was so important for me. And so
mhm,
some people might not necessarily know what they need and what's
mhm.
important for them. So
Yeah,
I noticed that while you're talking, you know a lot about what works and what doesn't work for you. And then
yeah,
you just go with that, which is really awesome. Some
yeah.
some people, so it's hard. It's not everybody can do that.
Oh,
Um, but in terms of the time, I agree. I think that's the biggest component. And like you said, it doesn't mean you need a lifetime to pass this exam.
yeah.
But having that extra time, it just removes another layer of pressure because we're
Yeah.
already getting, pressure from work to get
Hmm.
the FE, family. You're studying this whole
Hmm.
time, and the family keeps
Yeah.
asking, "Did you pass yet? Did you?
Right.
When are
Oh
you
my
gonna be
goodness.
done
Yeah.
studying?" Right? Like I'm still working on it. Why
I'm
don't
still
you
working
try
it.
it?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Why don't you go take it and tell me?
Oh man.
So it's like
Yeah.
there's so much already going on. And so
Yeah.
adding, you pay all this money and
Hmm.
then you have 3 months.
Yeah.
Like that's that's tough to
It's
do.
intense. Yeah. And I
Yeah, yeah,
know like some people I tell them I've been asking for like how long did you study? And I'm like 8 months and they're like that's too long. And I'm like
yeah.
listen, 8 months is gonna go by whether you study
Right.
or you pass or not. That 8 months is still gonna go by. So it's nothing in the in the pursuit of the goal to
Yeah.
actually pass, that 8 months is no time. It's like a blip,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and at the end of it, I pass either way. So, you know,
Yeah.
some people are scared when they hear that it might take them even longer, like a year or, you know, or some people are scared at 3 months, or some people like,
Yeah.
I want to take it and pass in 2 weeks, you know?
Right. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, no,
Yeah.
like let the time go by, focus on learning it, and you'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is a really good point. I agree with that. I think a lot of people like they get scared when they hear that they need to actually take a lot of time and effort to study for the FE exam. Like you said, a lot of people they just want to study it in 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and they just want to rush it,
Yeah.
and some people actually pass that way. That's the
Yeah.
thing. Like I actually had the classmate who did exactly that. Like he barely studied for it. He was just walking with the
Hmm.
the book by Michael Linder book, and then he
Yeah.
went and took it. He was an average student. We were kind of close, so and then
Hmm.
he passed it. Like we were all surprised
Yeah.
that he passed it. Like it was like
Yeah.
what? Like you barely studied for it.
Yeah. You barely
Um,
studied. Yeah.
yeah,
No.
like it's crazy.
Yeah.
I did study for it. I actually
Yeah.
spent 5 months. I was very
Hmm.
recent graduate, just graduated, and I
Hmm.
couldn't study for 2 months, 2 weeks for
Yeah.
it and then go take it. There's just no way. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna study for this. And I did really well in my college classes, and I
Hmm.
still had to spend time to
Still.
study
Yeah.
for the test, right?
Hmm.
Because you have to, one thing is your classes and your professors, the kind of
Right.
questions you're gonna get. You have past
Yeah.
exams. The
Yeah.
FE exam is so different. It's like you actually have to study for the test,
Yeah.
which is,
Yeah.
so you can know all
Yeah.
this knowledge, but you gotta like spend time preparing for it.
For
So
the test. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And
So
it's more than just even the material on the test. There's the endurance you need to build.
right,
There's the testing strategies you need to develop.
yeah,
Just the it's more than just the subject knowledge in and of itself. So yeah, no,
yeah.
I hear you. I hear
Yeah,
you.
like time management. Like I remember my
Yeah, time
professors,
management for
time
sure.
management. Yeah, like my
Yeah.
teachers or
Yeah.
my professors would be like, "Okay, guys, you can get another 5 minutes." The
Yeah.
FE exam, it just goes
Yeah,
done.
there's no time. Yeah. And
You're like,
we'll talk about that in terms of time. I can't wait to talk about my test day experience.
yeah,
Oh
okay,
goodness. Yeah,
okay,
yeah. You
let's
laughed
do
when I
it.
said I fell asleep. You'll laugh again.
I want to hear. I'm excited. All right. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the resources. I know you mentioned that
Mhm.
you got our bundle course and you took FE
Yes.
Civil, right?
Yes.
Just I don't know if you mentioned that any time during the interview, but um, and which aspects of our FE accelerator made the biggest difference for you besides the lifetime access?
I'll say the structure and the organization made a
Mm,
big difference
okay.
because that's how I was able to like, so you have like when you're scheduling your exam, you have like a master schedule, but because everything was so well organized and I had access to see everything that was in the course before I
Mm,
saw it, I was able to say, okay, I'm going to get through the intro to problem one and I'm going to work my way up to problem 10 today, and
mm,
then I could, there's also a checkbox feature, like, and just watching, each one check off as you go. It was like, I'm almost there. I just want to check all
yeah.
the boxes off, as you go.
Yeah.
And so that those aspects really, 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 really helped, especially in terms of, setting goals in terms of how you want to study and so, yeah, I think that was the second biggest. The organization was the
Yeah.
second biggest aspect for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. I think my husband helped me with that, so I will let him know.
Yeah,
I
no,
will
for
thank him
sure.
for that.
Yeah, no,
So,
absolutely.
yeah,
The
yeah,
structure of it is great.
that's
It's
awesome.
great. Yeah.
Um, what study tips that you found really helpful? Was there any like
Mm.
way of studying and learning the material and make sure you retain it for your FE exam?
Um, I think it goes back to what I said earlier, challenging myself to actually learn. And I
Mm,
think looking back at my academic journey, that is also advice I should have gotten with both degrees. Advice that I should have gotten was to, I didn't get this advice till later. Was when you learn it, don't learn to just get the A, learn it to retain it, you know?
Mm,
And so when I did that, this time I actually focused on learning the topic. And
mm,
so study tips to retain, I did have some flashcards.
mm.
I did make some flashcards and I did. So there were some nights where I was just like, I do not have it to like learn a new topic. So, but because I made those flashcards as I went, I could
Ooh.
just go through my flashcards. It limited the amount of excuses that I could make versus, doing nothing. And there were a couple nights, maybe like one or two or three nights where I was just like, I'm not doing anything. You know what I mean? I think that's warranted every now and then. But there were some nights where it was like, okay, Marcy, you can do a little bit. Like, go through your flashcards. Just go through them. Even if you don't guess the right answer or you turn and look, do something. So the flashcards did help. I also took pretty copious notes. So I'll be honest, my handwriting is really, really pretty and I like looking at it. So I took my own notes. Like I treated it like I was in school. And I saw on I think it was Pinterest by way of TikTok. She was talking about like romanticizing your study session. So that's what I did. And I was like, okay, so every time I studied, I would have my cute little notebook, my cute little pencils. Also, another thing that I want to mention that I think was pretty helpful. Whenever I did problems, I actually bought a dry erase board. So I bought
Mm.
dry erase. Well, it was like a dry erase notebook. I think I made actually I have. So I bought a dry erase notepad like this.
Oh.
And so instead of writing down, I only took notes on the actual topics, but every time I did a problem, I did it on this. And so it
Mm.
saved so much paper. I kept one at home, I kept one at work, and it helped out. I was just had a dry erase marker wherever I was. I could just take this out. I remember I was in a car dealership and I just brought this in a marker and looked up some of your YouTube videos to study. But it was very helpful. So that's some study. I guess that's study considered study tips.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, romanticizing my study sessions, utilizing the flashcards, reviewing, that helped
Mm.
too. So every time, whenever I started study session, and we'll probably go more in depth a little later, maybe. But whenever I would start studying or sit down to start studying, or when I was writing out my plan, uh, I would do a previous day's problem. Like whatever I studied the night before, I'd start there and make sure I could do that problem on my own without looking at the
Wow.
follow-up video.
Okay.
And that kind of warmed my brain up. It was like, okay, you just learned. It was like the recall, I think they call it recall, and that helped as well. So it was just like a building. And if I didn't get it right, it was like, okay, I would table it, I would learn something new, then I go back at the end and like, all right, let's watch this video over because it doesn't look like you actually retained
Mm.
or how to do the problem. So it was just kind of like a building process. Like I just built on the topics to make sure that I'm going back actively recalling what I learned, because I think if I hadn't have done that, I would have gotten so far and forgotten everything that I learned, 7 months ago.
Yeah.
So I think that helped out a lot. And then as I went on, the more topics that I got in, I would just pick a random topic that I hadn't touched in a while and do a random problem from
Mm.
there to start off my study session. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna steal all these tips
Yeah.
and I'm gonna share them with our students.
Fair
I
enough.
will
Yeah.
I will mention you, I promise. I'm not gonna say these are mine. Random
Yeah.
problems. I'm gonna write this down. I actually took a lot of notes. These are
Yeah.
really great, great tips. Okay, do want to go back to a couple of these. Learn it to
Okay.
retain it. I love that. I'm
Yeah.
stealing that. So I'm gonna be saying that from now on because like I love
Fair
that.
enough. Yeah.
Um, that's really summarizes what we do and and what we
Hmm.
really encourage you guys to do really like
Yeah.
that's amazing. Flashcards. So
Hmm.
couple questions there. What
Okay.
did you put in the flashcards? One, and
Yeah.
did it take you time to make them? Because like my biggest one would be like, oof, that will take me a lot of time to do
The
flashcards. What
yeah.
was your approach?
So I listened for whenever you said cheat sheet. That alerted me
Oh,
to, to make a flashcard about it. So I
okay.
kept the flashcards focused. They weren't, it wasn't a whole lot, or it didn't take a
Okay.
whole lot of time. It was just there were just things like I can randomly remember this. Like there's a equation that is not in the FE manual. And
Mm-hmm.
anytime there was an equation or you showed like a quick tip or trick or it was something that wasn't in the FE manual,
Mm,
that's what I would focus the flashcards on. So
mm,
it wasn't like it doesn't like with the note. Actually, everything is right here. It wasn't like with the notes where I was like really forcing myself to
mm,
like learn it and making it all pretty and whatnot. The flashcards were just pretty quick. It was like, okay, this is likely not to be something that your memory would be jogged by when you see the FE manual. So memorize
mm.
it.
Got
So
you.
memorize
Okay.
it. Yeah, there were you
Okay.
gave a lot of cues as to when I
Okay.
needed a flashcard. Yeah, anytime you
Okay.
said cheat
Awesome.
sheet, it went to a flashcard.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay. Um, when you started reviewing, oh no, when you start your study sessions, oh wow, I love that. So just to make sure I got it, so you would start as your study session, and we'll talk about your schedule in a little bit. But before you dive in, you do the problems that you did before, the day
Hmm.
before, to make sure
Hmm.
you got it. And if
Yep.
you got it one wrong, you
Hmm.
don't try to figure out right then. You just leave it. You
Hmm.
continue with your study session, and then you go back. That's very
Yeah.
smart. I love that because
Yeah.
then what would happen to me is like if I get a problem wrong and I
Hmm.
try to go back to understand it, now I'm gonna stress about my study session being
Hmm.
spent on something I did
You
yesterday
did yesterday. Yep.
versus you go like, okay, let's leave it for now.
Yeah.
We got it wrong. We'll figure it out at the end of our study
Hmm.
session so we don't miss that window. I love that.
Exactly. That was
I
exactly
love
the,
that.
and actually, the situation you just brought up is what let me do that. Like I'd be
Oh
like, oh,
yeah.
I'm spending two study sessions learning one topic, versus
Yeah.
like, just
Yeah.
continuing on with the schedule as planned.
Yeah.
And then and sometimes I would have to table them even to like the weekend. So there were
Mm.
a couple weekends where I left where I tabled it to then. And it's like, all
Mm.
right, this weekend is review, you know.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. These are great tips. Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
these. I will mention them. You probably will read them in emails as well.
Okay, fair.
So,
Yeah, I do
yeah.
still read the emails, ironically enough. So yeah,
Yeah. And then
fair.
you'll see your name there, but these are great. I would love to share them.
Yeah.
Um, okay, let's see. So you mentioned earlier that you spent about 8 months studying for
Hmm.
the FE exam. Could
Hmm.
you walk us through a little bit your week? How many hours did you study during the week, and did you spend more time studying during the weekend? What was your
Yeah.
schedule like?
Fair. So I always give this advice too when people ask, or even if they don't ask, I will give this advice. Start small. It's better to start small than to not start at all.
Mm.
Oh, that rhymes. So when I started studying, I think this is the reason it took me 8 months just to get myself into the mode of actually like, okay, you need to actually really implement this into your schedule. I kid you not. I think the first time I studied for like 10 minutes. And I did two problems and I said, "Oh, okay, I've met my 10 minutes, And then I was like,
Mm.
all right, the next day, let's do three problems. And then I think I came across a problem the problem alone took me like 20 minutes. So it was like, okay, yeah, let's just keep going. But when it was all said and done, what my schedule looked like was 2 hours every single weeknight.
Okay.
And that's another study tip I forgot to mention was I studied with one of my friends who's studying for the FE environmental. And and I got this advice from one of my line sisters who went to med school. And she was like, why are you studying by yourself? Like, do you know anybody else who's taking this
Mm,
exam? And I was like, actually, I do. And so I reached out to her and I was like, hey, girl, can we just like get on Teams. We don't have to talk. And sometimes we didn't talk. We
mm,
just message each other like, "Hey, I'm on," and we'd have our own study schedule. And for 2 hours every single weekday, because I could trust her to show up, and she trusted me to show up. And there would be
mm.
sometimes we'd be like, "Hey, I'm gonna be late," or I'm only
Yeah.
gonna be on an hour. I'm only gonna be on 30 minutes tonight. But for the most part, for 2 hours,
Wow.
Monday through Saturday, I mean, Monday through Friday, we
Friday.
studied. So, in terms of my schedule, it was 2 hours every single weekday,
Okay.
from 8 to 10 o'clock. And then, sometimes it went 8 to 11. It could go over, but it was never under. It was always two
Hmm.
hours for sure.
Okay.
And then, on the weekends, that is when I either took full length practice exams and I spend the whole day just focused in on that exam. I take it I scheduled my exam maybe in January. So the 8 month period, just for everybody who's watching it so you can follow, is from August to March.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, and I hope that's 8 months. August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. Yes, okay, 8 months. And so I scheduled my exam around January, and I knew that my exam was going to be at 8 o'clock in the morning. So
Mm.
on the weekends at that's when I started studying. I would start studying at 8 o'clock. It wasn't possible to do that during the weekday, obviously, because you have to go to work.
Yeah.
But on the weekends, I would start studying at 8 o'clock and turn my brain on so that I could get in the habit of like, okay, this is when your brain is going to have to activate on the day that you take the
Mm.
test. So on the weekends, if it wasn't a practice exam, well, if it was a practice exam, I do the full length practice exam. I take a break, go do something, go spend time with my boyfriend, my parents, whoever. And then I come back that evening and go through the exam. And
Mm-hmm.
then that Sunday is when I would actually, all the ones I got wrong, I work them out. I
Mm.
work them out. And so, if I wasn't taking a practice exam on the weekend, it was just 5 hours of continued practice
Wow.
through the program. I think I did like 2.5 hour sprints on each side of like lunchtime. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you would do 5 hours Saturday, 5 hours Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yep.
great. And then 2 hours a week,
Yep.
every day during the week. I love the
Yes.
accountability thing because now
Yes.
you can't bail now because somebody else is waiting on you. They're relying
Yes.
on you. You have to show up.
Yes.
So I really
Yes.
love that. Because like
Yes.
it's true. Like when we go to college, we always study with friends.
With friends.
We
Yeah.
go to the library and office hours, and you always have community and you have help. And then you
Mm-hmm.
graduate and then you go to work and then you just got to go through this alone. And it's
Alone.
not even easy thing to
Yeah.
do either.
Yeah.
And you have to study like after such a long day at work. I mean, your
Yeah.
schedule, like you start studying till 8.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's late, you know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
hard. It's not an easy thing to do.
Right.
Um, what do you think, besides the accountability with your friend, is there anything else that you did that kind of helped you stay consistent? Because I think
Mm-hmm.
that's really the key that it's like we brought this up a little bit earlier. When people hear 8 months, they just run, or three
Yeah.
months, because they got to
Yeah.
show up every day for 3 months. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a huge commitment, right?
Yeah.
Um, so, how was there anything else that you did that kind of helped you stay consistent and stay disciplined?
Yeah. Um, I'll say the romanticizing my study sessions, it gave me something to look forward
Mm.
to. It was
Oh,
just because I live by myself. And so I think that in and of itself might have made it a lot easier. But if you're somebody who's watching, you live by yourself, just give yourself something to look forward to.
Mm.
I would make my tea. I would,
Mm.
like have my diffuser going. I
Oh.
would, like I said earlier, I'd pull out my cute little notebooks, my cute little pens, and I just made it like a thing.
Yeah.
And I followed a lot of content on YouTube and social, well, actually I was off social media while I was studying. But I still kept the only social media I really kept was like YouTube and Pinterest. And so
Okay.
I looked up, motivating content on there all the time. I actually have
Mm.
like a pin board that's just nothing but like studying content, and
Mm.
I'm watching all these girls have TikTok clips of themselves studying, and I found lots of YouTube videos on studying, like yours included, and then like some others that were they may have been studying for something completely different. I
Right.
think I followed a girl, she was studying like nursing, and
Mm.
there was another guy, he was studying to take the CPA exam for accounting. And I was like, but it's still
Yeah.
the watching them be
Mm-hmm.
disciplined and watching them be motivated me.
Yeah.
And so, but to me, romanticizing my study sessions, engaging in or consuming content that was like motivating, that
Mm.
I think those are and also accountability. Those are two things that really kept me on track and helped me to push through those 8 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's hard. It's a long time to be studying.
It's a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
I love.
it sounds like a long time, but it goes by pretty
Right,
quick.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Earlier I was gonna say something and I forgot actually to mention it. A lot of people they think 8 months is a long time, but
yeah,
we're working in the civil engineering industry for like
yeah.
20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
What is 8 months
What
compared
is
to
8?
that? That's
That's a
nothing,
good question. Good point.
right? That's like get the FE, get the PE, and then go
Yeah,
excel in your career
yeah,
faster, versus
absolutely.
like this is like gonna be holding you back and
Yeah.
so yeah, that also helps to, see, oh, 8 months is really not that much,
It's not
really.
that much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Compared to the 8 years where I hadn't studied, I mean, well,
right.
compared to the 8 years that I hadn't passed the exam, 8 months was nothing.
Right, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And also like I think the other thing too, like wasting time figuring out like trying to just get through it or just
Hmm.
get it, get over with and not actually have a
Hmm.
plan. Like I'm talking
Right.
to you right now and the last things that you mentioned about like what kept you motivated, like
Hmm.
you are very intentional about everything that you do. Like even
Yeah.
like you when you talk about social media, use the word that I consume content that
Yeah.
helps me with this, right?
Right.
Versus like you, because I usually tell you guys don't be on social media because you could just sit there and just consume random
Cons
stuff that's not adding
Yeah.
any value to you right now. And is
Mm-hmm.
that something you want to be doing, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
I feel like everything that you do, you're very intentional about it. And then it's helping you in some way at
Yeah.
whatever, you're doing. Like right now, so you were studying for the FE. So
Yeah.
I think that also helps just like having like a good plan. And
Mm-hmm.
even if that plan
100%.
wouldn't necessarily lead you to success, at least you
Yeah.
had a plan and you tried it. And then
Yeah.
if you failed, now you can go like, this is why I failed. This is what didn't work. This is what I
Exactly.
need. And then you can regroup and then go look for what you need.
Yeah.
Um,
100%.
yeah, so it's very interesting. Okay, let's talk about weeks before your exam.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, okay, I'm excited now. What did you do the week before your exam? Uh,
The week before. So I actually took 3 full days off.
Okay.
So my exam was on a Saturday. And so went into the office that Monday and Tuesday. And I specifically went into the office because we do have the option to work from home for like 2 to 3 days a week. But I specifically went into the office to make sure everything was squared away with the projects that I was working on, that I got face-to-face interaction with everybody needed, because I was like, listen, I'm taking 3 days to take this exam. I don't have time to respond to any emergencies. So
Yeah.
that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I took off. So that Wednesday, I took my last practice exam. And ironically enough, so it was your practice exam.
Okay.
that I took. And the first time I took that exam, I made a 17. And
Oh, wow.
that was just for me to get my feet wet with a first practice exam. I made a 17. The last time I took that practice exam, I got a 62. So,
Okay.
so, and
Wow.
I was like, no, it's 2 days before the exam. Like I was going for a 70, da 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 da. And I was like, man, how could I have gotten just a 62? And then I was like, okay, let's just do it. It's fine. We'll just don't freak out. Because I remember reading a Reddit post that was like, if you're in between like the 50 and 60 range.
Mm,
Also, I recalled like some of your interviews, some of your tips, and you said before if you're in that range that you're actually ready to take the exam. And I was
mm,
like, I pray to God that that's the case for me because I really thought I could get a 70. That was my goal.
mm,
And that was where I had convinced myself that I would be ready,
mm.
right? So that Wednesday I took the exam. Um, and then I reviewed the actual practice exam, which on it, shout out to one of my coworkers because she actually went to a convention. She went to the NSBE convention, and the NCS people were there, and they were
Oh,
giving out free practice exams, and she snagged me one and brought it
that's
back.
cool.
And so I was able to have that as a practice exam that I had already taken. So I reviewed that exam, and then yeah. And then that was that Wednesday. And then that Thursday, I just picked one topic that I was really weak in. And for me, that was influence lines. Because
Oh.
I was like, oh gosh, for whatever, I still don't like that topic. Like, ugh. But nonetheless, I said, all right, I'm just going to give it a go. I'm just going to make sure I could do my best at this topic. And then I just kind of reviewed some of the flashcards, reviewed my notes. And then that Friday, I took my mentor's advice not to study anything. I didn't
Yeah.
do anything. Actually, that Friday, uh, I was getting new gutters put on my house, so they were knocking and banging on my house anyway. So it was like it wasn't a conducive environment to study in the first place. I think I woke up that morning. They came that morning, and I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna review." I couldn't even review because there was just so much going on with them, like replacing gutters. So I ended up not doing anything. I just kind of I watched one of my favorite shows, Ted Lasso, and I just relaxed and got my mind right and prayed and all that kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, that was the week before the exam.
Okay. All right. Um, Influence line, huh?
Yeah.
That is that's a tricky one.
Yeah.
And you know what, like, just something I want to remind, students. I'm glad you brought it up. I actually, before I went into my exam, I didn't know influence line either. It's a very hard topic, or moving loads. I actually studied it when I was preparing for the course. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I spent 2 weeks on it to
Okay.
understand it fully and then to be able to break it down in such a way so that you guys can grasp it.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair.
So that took a while. 2 weeks is a long time. Usually I finish a topic in 2 weeks just to give an
Mm,
idea.
okay.
But yeah, so and I went into the exam without knowing it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
okay to not know every single topic.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, for
you
sure.
know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
so but it's interesting you spend that day on it. For the practice exam, I'm really you brought that up, and I'm really glad that you were able to right away, like, just be like, hey, we're gonna be fine. And we just gotta, keep going.
Yeah.
The other thing I usually tell students, like, if you ever that situation, shoot us an email or text
Hmm.
Rim.
Hmm.
She
Hmm.
will right away be like, hey, you're doing great. You got this
Yeah.
is a good score. You
Yeah.
got this. Just go in and you're
Yeah.
gonna be fine, right? And just
Yeah.
having somebody there tell you that, you go like,
Yeah.
okay, okay, let me just go through my mistakes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, but I'm really glad you were able to regroup and then,
For
because
sure.
I could totally see people spiraling after that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and that doesn't help in any way. So
Yeah.
I wonder, when you went to the practice exam, did you
Hmm.
find like any like mistakes where you're like, ah, this is such a silly mistake, or it was like, like you forgot a negative or calculator. So it wasn't about so and that was very helpful because when I took the
Yeah.
practice exam, I scored really bad as well. I think I took the NCS. It was like low score, like
Yeah.
50A or something. And I
Yeah.
remember I was telling my husband like, there's no way I'm gonna go take this exam. And like I had the
Mhm.
exam like a week. I'm like, I have to reschedule. And he's like, look, just go through your and just check, And he was just like,
Yeah.
most of it was like, oh, this I had the steps
You
correct.
had this. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know what happened with the calculator. I put something
Yeah.
wrong, you know what I mean? And so it's
Right.
like,
Yeah.
and it's just like the nerves, right? So
Yeah,
did you
for
feel
sure.
like a lot of the answers that you got were like that?
Yeah. Well, actually, I had by the last time I took my practice exam, it wasn't. Well, yeah, I'll say yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I'll say yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
can say yeah. Whether it was like me, I remember, oh, I do remember one time I didn't fully read the question and I got the units wrong. Like I solved it the
yeah,
right way, but they
yeah,
were asking for it in SI units and I had solved for it in US units. So I do remember making
yeah.
that mistake and I was just like, oh my gosh, like the test is in 2 days. So like you can't afford to be making these kind of
Yeah,
mistakes. But like
yeah,
I said, I remember that Reddit post. I remember, and I think
yeah,
that's why it's beneficial to watch these interviews
yeah.
and to get an idea of how other people are handling the same things that you're going through. Like, because
Mm-hmm.
everything you're going through right now, nothing's unique.
Yeah, yeah,
Nothing's really super unique. I mean, there are some outliers, but
yeah,
nothing you're experiencing is super unique to you. Like
yeah.
somebody else has gone through the same thing. Somebody else has gotten a 40 and then went and took the test and then passed.
Yep.
So it's fine just to
Yeah.
keep a level head and and I wanted to go back to something you said earlier. I actually in the 8 months did not study every single topic. And there were
Mm.
about 3 topics that I just kind of quickly reviewed. And one of those 3 days that I took off work, there were I just kind of quickly reviewed those topics because they were the
Mm.
topics that had the least amount of questions. I think one of them
Mm.
was like materials. Like I didn't study that in depth. I just went through
Interesting.
the questions and kind of took notes on my flashcards. Um
Wow. Okay.
so yeah, and actually my boyfriend gave me that advice. He was like, because I remember January, February rolling around, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I haven't studied every single time. He was like, you just need to. And his also my boyfriend's sister, I want to shout her out too. She was like, listen, we're gonna just take the bigger topics, make sure we understand those, and those smaller topics,
Mm.
we can go back and just do quick reviews on those. And
Mm.
you'll be fine. And sure enough, worked out.
It worked out. That's great. That's
Yeah,
awesome. Well,
yeah,
yeah, that's really good. Um, what's the other topic? So it was what's other two topics you skipped? It was materials.
yeah.
Was the other?
Materials. I didn't fully study construction engineering.
Oh, okay.
Didn't fully study fluid mechanics. Now, if I could go back, I would have studied fluid mechanics. Because I did get a few of those questions, those type questions on my test. And I
Yeah.
remember the questions, I won't say they are specifically, but I remember thinking like, man, had I studied in depth, I probably would have got this. But I went with my gut answer and maybe it was right, maybe it was wrong, but I passed. But yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that's advice. Well, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
If I could go back, fluid mechanics is one that I probably would have spent a little more time on. I just started
Mm.
running out of time, and it was just like, all right,
Yeah.
you gotta be a little more strategic,
Yeah.
with how you do things. But yeah, and then if I could go back, I wouldn't have studied dynamics a
I
lot.
was gonna
I think
say that. I was
I
I was
spent way
gonna
too much
say,
time on
yeah,
dynamics, like, and
yeah.
that is when my boyfriend spoke up and was like, you should like
Mm.
focus on something else. And because in my head, I was just gonna study every
Everything.
single
Yeah.
topic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because that made sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like he was like, you spent so much time on dynamics, and that's like the smallest section on the test. And
Yeah.
it's also not likely you'll use dynamics on the PE. So it's
Yeah. Oh,
like,
that's a
you
good
know,
point. What was
Yeah.
it? Yeah, yeah,
Yes. If I could go
yeah,
back, I would have table dynamics to the end. Um, but yeah, those are the
yeah,
three: fluid mechanics, materials,
yeah.
and and surveying. Surveying. I didn't go full depth in surveying, but I was really good. I still had my notebook from college for surveying, and those notes. I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I'm a good note taker. So everything I need to know, I just read over those notes in that purple notebook over there, and I was good to go for surveying. But yeah,
That is great. That's awesome. Yeah, when you mentioned fluid mechanics, I was thinking like you should have probably skipped dynamics instead, and then you said it. It's funny because I
yeah,
was actually thinking about that because
yeah,
dynamics you get four questions. Same thing with fluid mechanics.
yeah.
But the majority of time you actually get more questions than four in fluid mechanics. You actually get
Right.
like six or seven. And then you have hydraulics and
Right.
which is sometimes similar to fluid
Yes.
mechanics questions.
Yes.
So fluid mechanics can really give you a good foundation for hydraulics. So
Right.
that's usually a topic I would suggest not to skip.
Yeah, 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 no,
But
for sure. If I could go
but
back,
yeah,
I'd definitely do it.
yeah,
But I think I whatever I learned because in your hydraulic in your program, you have a review of fluid
I do.
mechanics
I do.
in
Yeah.
for hydraulics. And I
Yeah.
think whatever I
Yeah.
learned there, it just carried me through.
It helps you. Yeah, yeah. I forgot
But
about
there
that.
were a couple questions, so I was like,
Yeah.
man, had I gone through fluid mechanics, I would have gotten this a lot
Yeah.
easier. So yeah, I recommend going through fluid mechanics.
Yeah. But yeah, look, doesn't matter. You passed the FE exam, which is what's important, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah. All right, let's talk about the exam.
Okay.
How did you feel going into the exam?
hmm Oh man, let's start with the exam day, okay?
Okay, okay.
So my test was at 8 a.m. in the morning.
Okay.
When I got there with more than enough time to spare. I think I got there at like 7:30, like pulled up, turned the car off at 7:30.
Okay.
And I was like doing some breathing, I prayed, I did everything I needed to do to get mentally ready. And I walk up with my calculator in hand and I'm ready to go. And I grab the door and it's locked. And so,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, the door to the building that I knew I was supposed to be in. And honestly, I knew this was good advice my boyfriend's sister gave me. She gave me the advice to actually drive to where I was going to be so that on the day of, I wasn't wasting time questioning where I was supposed to be. And I did that. I did
Mm.
that maybe like 2 weeks before. I was on that side of
Okay.
town and I was like, let me just go and see, where I'm supposed to be so that you're not wasting time and you're not late to the test trying to find parking or trying to
Yeah.
find what the right building is. So I had
Yeah.
already done that. So I knew I was in the right place. And when I
Okay.
grabbed the door and it was locked, I said, "Oh no." And so there were like other people there coming up and there was another guy there who was
Okay.
there to take the FE. He didn't have a calculator, by the way, so best of luck to that man.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, there were other people there to take other exams because Pearson VUE, they don't just do FE exam, they do all kind of
Right.
exams. And
Yeah.
so we were all just like talking, like, "Hey, like, do you know if this is the right place?" And whatever. And so now my nerves are like worked up. Now I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe this is a sign. Like maybe I shouldn't.
Oh,
And I'm less like, all right, but I stay calm. I'm actually really good at staying calm in stressful
that's yeah.
situations. So I go back to my car. We all go back to our car. Um, and one, like two or three, it's cold outside because it's Atlanta, but it was still like early spring. So I go back in my car and I do everything all over again. I was like, all right, we'll say the prayer again. I'm gonna, and I decided to drink some more water just because I was thirsty. Um, and then finally I walk back up there, we get in. Now, mind you, by the time we get in, it's 8:30. And everybody has to
Oh,
be checked in and there's a
yeah.
line. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like prolonging it's like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
like I just want to take the test already. I was prepared to take the exam at eight
At
o'clock.
8. Yeah.
Yeah, you know
You
what I mean?
trained
And I
for
had
it.
And I
It's
had woken
strange,
up
yeah.
early. I had gotten breakfast. Here's another tip. To activate my brain, I did a Sudoku puzzle.
Okay.
In a crossword puzzle, just
Yeah.
like a really easy one,
Mm-hmm.
just to like turn my brain on,
Yeah.
you know? And so I did all that. And so nonetheless, I go and I use the restroom. I was like, all right, let me use the restroom before I go into the exam because now I
Mm-hmm.
have time. But they gave you a number. I think there were like three or four people ahead of me. So I went to go use the restroom, came back, got signed in, all of that. And so when I sat down, they give you time before like you're the person who prompts the exam to start. So I just like calmed down. I was just like, all right, that was a lot.
Yeah.
Calm down, take the exam. So I start the exam, do the little, you know, contract or sign whatever agreement, go through the little tutorial, everything. First question, you know, I did the skip through method. So I'll talk
Mm.
about that more. I'll come back to that. Um, and then maybe like, I kid you not, maybe 30 minutes into the exam, I was like, I have to use the restroom. And when you have to use the restroom for the exam through Pearson View, it's not just you go and get up and use the restroom. You have to raise your hand. You have to
Right.
wait for somebody to acknowledge you. They
Right.
have to come. They have to sign you out on your computer. Then you have to go outside the room. You have to scan your palm. And then the restroom was like on the other side of the building for whatever reason. And so I lost maybe like 15 minutes using the restroom. I
Mm-hmm.
came back and I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God. Okay. It's gonna go. It's gonna keep taking the exam.
Wow.
Maybe like an hour goes by. So I think I have maybe like 30 more minutes or the way I wanted to time it. I think I
Right.
had maybe like 30 or 40 more minutes um before I was gonna submit the first half. I kid you not, I had to use the restroom again. And I was like, oh my goodness, like I'm losing so much time. But mind you, in between me using the restroom, I was doing great. Like I was getting through the
Oh,
problems.
wow. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was just like, man, like time is not on my side. Like I should not have drank, and I don't remember drinking as much water as my body would have me believe that I drank.
Yeah. That's so
But I
interesting.
did, so I had to do it all over again. You raise your hand, you wait to
Oh,
be you
wow.
come, they have to sign you out, and then you go and then you have to scan your palm. Then you go to the other side of the
Wow.
building, use the restroom, come all the way back, then you have to scan your palm again. Then they have to come back
Yep.
and say, you lose. So I maybe lost about, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes on the
Yeah.
first exam, maybe 30 on
Wow.
just the first half of the exam alone.
Yeah.
And so I remember the exam being a little bit tough, but like I said, I used the skip through method. So
Okay.
if
Great.
you, I, there was a YouTube video somewhere that I found, and he was like, 5 second rule. So if you can't get in the first 5 seconds, go to the next one.
Mm.
And then once you go through all the questions, go back. And then it's like, all right, if you can't get it within the first minute, go to the next one. Or the
Mm.
first 30 seconds, you go to the next one.
Mm.
Do a 30-second run, and then you do the first minute. If you can't get in the first minute, go to the next one. And then you
Mm.
do 2 minutes. If you can't get in the first 2 minutes, go to another one. And you just
Interesting.
filter out and
Yeah.
so I was doing that method.
Okay.
So even though some of the questions were kind of challenging, I was doing well in between having to use the restroom. But
Right.
just I was so proud of myself for being so calm because I think a younger me would have been like, all right, I'm not gonna pass and just let that mindset sift in.
Mm.
But I was like, no, 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 no. I've come too far. I've studied too hard. I'm going to pass this exam with no matter how many times I have to use the restroom. You know what I mean? And so I remember I got to the second half. I remember I called my boyfriend, and he's a jokester. He likes to like he processes everything through humor, so he was just making me laugh. We were joking. He's like, "Well, I guess I'll just plan a hangout for whenever." He was just doing all kind of stuff to make me laugh. And so I went to the second half of the test. Did not have to use the restroom at all,
That's good.
and I I did the five 30 1 minute 2 minute thing, and I think when I got through, I remember getting to the last 5 minutes and getting nervous. And then that's when it started hitting me like how much time I had lost because
Oh,
I used the restroom. Because you know how,
yeah,
like, yeah, you're familiar with
yeah.
how the timing works. So that's when I started freaking out a little bit. I was like, oh my gosh. It wasn't until the last 5 minutes. And I was like, Marcy, you made it to the end. So whatever it is at this point, 5 minutes with 5 minutes left on this test, that's just what it is. If you have to come back and take this test, you will just have to come back and take this test. And it's not the end of the world. It's
Right.
not the end of the world. I remember watching one of your interviews. There was an older lady who took the test, and she was saying something to the extent of like, each time you take the exam, it's just an assessment on where you are in
Mm,
terms of how much you've learned. So just let this be an assessment of where you are. And this is
mm,
like in the event I didn't pass, and this leaving out the possibility that I could have actually passed, which I did.
yeah,
But in that moment, 5 minutes left, you just have to get to a point of acceptance.
yeah,
And I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I've done my best. And I remember I was attempting one last problem. I remember I got to 1 minute and I just literally sat there and watched the countdown and just let it go in that moment. And then I went to my car and I cried because I was so I just went to my car, I held it together, and then I shut my car and I was just like, like I just can't, I've come so far and I did so much. And it was just like, man, like it just, everything that happened would make it seem like I shouldn't have passed. So, that was exam day. And then actually I went to one of my friend's mom's birthday party that night, and so I just let it go.
yeah.
Yeah, that was exam day. I know it was a little long, a little lengthy, but exam day was very interesting for me.
Wow. No, I love it. That's very interesting. Um, that's a quiet, that's a quite a bit of day there you had. Um, the between using the bathroom and
Yeah.
the breaks and the questions and were you able to get to the last question, the 110 question?
Oh, yeah, I
You did.
was.
You
I
did.
was.
Okay.
The second half of the exam went how the first half should have. The second half of the exam,
Yeah.
I actually did, I thought I did my best. It was tough. I won't hold you. And not to say that I got to the end, and answered all the questions easily,
Yep.
but doing that method, I knew that I put it this way. I think I put it to this way to somebody who asked me recently. What I knew. There was no doubt that I knew it.
Yeah.
And even if I thought I didn't know it, there were some questions where I originally read the question and then I went back and I was like, oh, girl, you know this. You know
Mm,
this. And so for what I didn't know, I just had to accept that I didn't know it,
yeah.
and I had given it my best educated guess and, used context clues. Yeah. So yeah.
Mm. I love that. Yeah. It's like, yeah, you just go in there,
Yeah.
give what you know, and what you don't know, you just gotta
You have
accept
to
it.
accept it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you can't know everything. You
Yeah.
can't know everything.
Yeah.
So,
Try it, give it your
yeah.
best.
Try it. Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
And
For
let it
sure.
go. Let it
Yeah.
go. I love how you just sat there and you just watched the timer.
Yeah, the
That
last
was,
minute, I was in such
yeah.
a state of acceptance that I just literally remember it was
Yeah.
like the timer was I can visualize it now. The timer was up in the corner and I literally, it was blue. It had turned red actually. The timer had turned red and
Yeah.
the last minute, I just sat there and watched it and I obviously I made sure I answered every question and
Right.
didn't have any,
Right.
yeah, I had gone through all that. But then I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, it is what it is at this point. It's
Yeah.
nothing I can do. So yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool. Um, how did you feel when you got the results that you passed?
Oh my goodness. Let me tell you, those few days in between taking that test and finding out that I passed were nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Um, from Reddit posts, I highly suggest that you take your exam on a Saturday because apparently that's the least amount of time uh that you'll
Oh,
experience between, that's according to Reddit posts and according to my experience too. Every time I've taken the exam, it's been on a Saturday, and I've always gotten my results like on a Wednesday or like a Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday. And but I've gone on Reddit and they'd be like, yeah, I took mine on a Monday. I had to wait a whole other week to, find out,
yeah.
when my exam results came back. But every time I was taking it on a Saturday, I only had to wait maybe like 3, 4, 5 days.
Okay.
But those few days, oh my goodness, I literally almost started studying again. I was like, let me just start. And I literally
Wow.
logging in, and I was like, I'll just probably start with fluid mechanics this time, you know? And like, I literally went
Oh,
back and forth with myself, like, I mean, I could have passed, but yeah, maybe not. I just don't know.
wow.
I just didn't know. And I tried to do all kinds of things to take my mind off of it. I was back in the full swing of work and, just kind of letting work kind of distract me a little bit. But
Yeah.
when I would come home, it was like I should probably be studying because I don't know if I pass that exam. It's better to just, keep going from here.
Yeah.
I remember I had decided that if I didn't pass, that I wouldn't stop, that I would keep going
Mm,
this time. And,
mm,
because but I'm mentally prepared to do that. Unlike when I
mm,
was saying earlier, take a break. This time I mentally prepared myself to keep going. And so
mm.
you can keep going, but just be in the mindset to do so. And I think because I was already like conjuring up a failed exam in my head, that I was prepared. I had cried all the tears and everything, and I just was like, all right, yeah, let's study. Because like I said earlier, like I had enjoyed the process of
Yeah.
studying for this exam in the first place. So it
Mm,
was just like it was just gonna be hunkering down for another 2 or 3 more months. um,
mm.
but
Yeah.
I remember getting up Wednesday morning and just like saying a prayer and just letting it go. It was like, Marci, you're gonna run yourself crazy trying to guess what you got in an exam. Whatever it is whatever it is. And I kid you not, maybe like 2 minutes after I said that prayer, I got the email and I got a badge. And I
Wow.
said, a badge?
Yeah.
And I said, what a cruel joke. If they're sending me a badge and not my results, like, what's a badge, And it said congratulations and da da da. You want to post the badge on your website. And so that's what I said. Okay. I can't see them having sent me a badge and I didn't pass. So that's when I logged in and I saw that green pass and I cried again. These tears were different though. It was just, oh my goodness. I literally felt the weight lift off in that moment. And I was just so thankful and so grateful. And just, I was overwhelmed, like, with how much lighter I felt. I
Yeah.
haven't seen it. And I couldn't believe it. It was like, I've been trying to pass this test for so long. And finally, that part of the journey, because we are studying for the PE now, that part of the journey is over. I'll never have to take that again, you
Yeah.
know? And so it was just exciting. It was exciting. The first person I called was my mom, and my mom, she's just like me. She's a crybaby like me. So she she kind of was like, "Oh, I'm so happy." Da, da, da. And she was around my dad, and she told my dad and my dad and my mom, they were just so happy. And the next person I called was my boyfriend, just to thank him for all his support and everything. And then I just text everybody. Everybody after that got a text, like, I've screenshot the pass result from, the account, and like, and I did the badge and I did the pass result just in case anybody mistook the badge for like AI or something, so so just to let you know that I'm not making this up, that I actually did pass. I made sure that my ID was in the screenshot and everything. So but yeah, it was just, man, that feeling when I found out I passed was unmatched. Unmatched.
That's amazing. I'm really happy for you. Thank you for walking us through that. That was beautiful how you shared the your how you got the news.
Yeah.
Um, when I took the FE exam, they used to not do the badge. That's a
Okay.
new thing I've been hearing more and more now from our students. So when you pass, you get an email with the badge first, and then you're like, oh, this is
Yeah.
this is how you know you kind of passed.
Yeah. 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 I was
If you,
like, I think
yeah,
they should like send your results and then send the badge after.
after,
Just,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting. And then when you don't pass, I think they just I don't know if you get an email that your result is on the account or did you get that or did you just get the badge? Did you get like, hey, your result is up?
Yeah, but the thing, yes, I got both emails, but I got the badge email first.
Oh,
And
that's good.
then I got
That's
maybe like
okay.
later on in the day, I got the account email. I mean the notification.
Oh,
It just says
okay.
it doesn't tell you in that separate email whether you pass or fail. It just says your results
Right,
are ready in your My NCES account.
right,
And so I remember when I failed, I just got that email. I just got the email that my results were ready.
right.
I didn't get
The
a badge
badge.
or anything like that. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I'm really happy for you, Marcy. Now that you've passed your FE exam, did it affect your life, like your career or
What? Oh man, let me tell y'all, the amount of confidence that I've gained from passing this exam is again unmatched. It
Yeah.
is, I mean, you couldn't tell me. I felt like I could go and get a doctorate degree that day because I felt so confident.
Yeah.
And just, it was a confidence I hadn't felt in my career ever up until that
Mm.
point.
Wow.
Even though, even the confidence of, knowing that you know how to do something at work, knowing that I know synchro or, whatever else because I'm a traffic engineer. And, you know, even the confidence and knowing that I know those particular programs or it didn't even match the confidence of knowing that I delivered a project like that. It just
Mm.
it was a newfound confidence in my
Mm.
career that let me know that no, I really can do whatever it is I put my mind to. And my efforts and my labor were not in vain, that whatever method and strategy I used, it did work. The tips and the tricks that I had consumed and invested in and watched and learned and retained, they do work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not, a bunch of fluff or anything like that. Like whatever you're hearing on this channel from people who have taken this test, do take it in stride and know and just there's a lot of advice that people give, but figure out what works for you. And
Yeah.
everything that I picked out that works for me, it actually works.
Yeah.
So that's what it's done for me in my career. Just the confidence. It didn't come with any kind of a pay raise. My company was just like, yay. You really don't get anything pay rise or award wise until you get your PE.
Okay.
But I didn't care. I didn't
Yeah.
care. I was just like, the you can't put a price tag on the
Yeah.
confidence that I have now that I've passed this exam. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I agree. I agree. It's really does an impact on you as a person once you pass these exams. Sure, the pay raise, the promotions, those are all extras. I think also just like it gives you this peace of mind that you will stay at the job. That's a
yeah,
big one too, right?
yeah,
Just like because if there's any type of laid off or anything like that, I think one of the
mhm,
engineers that go first is
yeah,
goes without an EIT. Happened to a couple of our students, unfortunately. That's why it's
yeah,
so important to get your
yeah,
EIT. For the P, you can wait. Like there's
yeah,
usually not that much urgency, but for the
mhm,
EIT, if you are an engineering company and if you have a civil engineering degree
mhm,
or mechanical or electrical, depends on the industry you work at, get your EIT as
yeah,
soon as you can because
for
that
sure.
really helps a lot. And then also, like you were talking about the confidence, when you gain confidence, and I've heard this from students as well, once you gain that kind of confidence, now you're more willing to take bigger projects at work. Before you'd be like, I don't know
Yes,
if I can do that. you start doubting
Hmm.
yourself. But now
Yeah.
you're like, you go to your boss, you ask questions, you don't have all this self-doubt of like, oh, that probably I shouldn't ask that question. Now
Yeah.
you're like, you actually more confident at work, taking more
Hmm.
projects, having conversations with engineers
Yeah.
without that inner voice
With
in
that
your
inner
head
voice,
that
like, you haven't even passed your FE exam, and it's
I
not there. It goes away. Yeah.
right,
Yeah, for
right,
sure.
right. As soon as you get that badge, it goes away, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Um, which is yeah, it's amazing. You mentioned that you're studying for the P exam right now.
Mm.
Is that happening right now, currently?
So, not as much as I want to. I think I've
Okay.
chosen August again to really, really, really hunker down.
Oh, very nice.
Um, what I've been doing is just kind of exploring videos and just to get familiar with the content. Like I've already downloaded the manual and I've taken a look at the manual. Found some YouTube classes, created YouTube playlists to just kind of familiarize
Mm,
myself with the content.
mm,
um, there's some study material that others have shared with me. I'll say where it's from, but there's some study material that I've had coworkers share with me. So I've just kind of flipped through just to
mm,
familiarize myself
mm,
with the content there. But I haven't actually officially started studying, not like with a hardcore schedule. It's just been like I come home in the evenings and I may like watch something, but I'll turn that off and just to like rummage through what the material is so I can kind of
mm.
introduce myself to the content because it will be new. It's much more focused. I will be taking the PE transportation
Okay.
because that's my area of focus. So far, everybody, all the PEs I've talked to, they've been like, if you can pass the FE exam 8 years after graduating, the PE exam is actually going to be a lot easier for you because
Mm.
it's really in line with what you do on a day-to-day basis. And sure enough, I got some study material right here. I went and bought something off Amazon. I don't know if I can share that,
It's a
what it
book
is.
from Amazon. Yeah,
It's a
sure.
yeah,
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 yeah, no
yeah.
problem. Of
It's
course.
this one is the essential guide to passing the transportation civil PE exam. And actually I saw that he has one for every discipline. So
Oh, okay.
I'm starting here. This is where I've been starting. Actually, I had this by my bedside because before I go to bed, I'll just like flip through, read through a
Mm.
problem. Not actually do it. Like I said, I'm just like introducing myself to the material
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but I'll be starting hardcore studying alongside one of my colleagues at work because and funny enough, she told me she was like, I went through a similar struggle. I had to take my exam, my FE exam multiple times. I just passed last year. She's like, "Where were you?" She was like, and I was like, she was like, "Where were you?" I could have really used somebody to talk to who knew what I was going through, and
Yeah.
we have the same amount of experience,
Yeah.
and we're going to be studying to take our FE exam. I mean, our
Oh.
PE exams together. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
That's
Yeah,
really cool. That's yeah, that having another support going through this journey could
yeah,
be very helpful a lot. Um,
yeah.
and then I love how you taking time to I do that a lot too actually. When I'm starting like a new project or new course, I would spend how much whatever how much time I need to
Hmm.
kind of just mentally prepare for it, which is kind of like what
Hmm.
you're doing. And I actually really like that. And I think
Yeah.
students really need to start doing that instead of just like, because I think a lot of times what happens, they go, I need to take this exam, I need to take, and so they keep postponing it. And then one day they just go, that's it, I'm just gonna start. And
Yeah.
then so it's like you don't give yourself time to really like plan for it, come up with
Yeah.
a strategy, look for study resources. Like because when you start without a plan, you
Hmm.
basically, you're planning to fail, right?
Plan to fail
Um,
for 100%.
right? So
Yeah.
it's like, so I really like what you're doing, which is similar to how when we first started the conversation for the PE, it was the same way.
Yeah.
Like you said, start slow. The first day, I remember you said you only studied 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's all
Yeah.
you could do, right?
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah.
you gotta train your brain
Gotta
to
train
study.
yourself.
You have to come up with a plan, a strategy that's
Yeah.
gonna help you stay motivated throughout
Hmm.
these next couple months that you're gonna be
100%.
studying. Because you're not studying for a week or two. This is
No.
gonna be,
Continued.
couple, yeah. You
Yeah.
don't know when.
Yeah,
When you first started studying for the FE in August, did you know that you were going to take it in March? You didn't make that decision till January.
right. Exactly. I didn't
So,
make that decision till January. And by the time I got to
yeah,
January, I had studied half of what was on the test.
yeah,
And then that's when I was like, all right, I'm ready. And
time,
then you
yeah.
just go into high gear, kick it into high gear, but
Mm,
you don't want to stay in high gear for the full duration of your study because you'll burn out. And
agree.
even
Yeah,
though I, passed and everything and kicked it into high gear only for maybe like those last 3 months, I think when it was all said and done, like I was just kind of on autopilot and I didn't realize that I was experiencing more stress than I was feeling. But just when it all went away, it was just like, oh, like, I think my body had been used to being a little bit in a state of stress, just a little bit.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, you don't want long, long durations of that type stress that I couldn't imagine with the way I studied the last 3 months. I couldn't imagine that for 8 months. So
Yeah,
yeah, you're right.
yeah,
Yeah. And then with
yeah.
studying for the PE, it's a whole different ball game because I haven't found, anything that's, in talking to people, I haven't found anything that's really truly comparable to what you've given us for the FE exam. So just kind of searching and figuring out what's going to
Mm,
be the best strategy, it looks a lot different because with your
mm,
program, it was so well organized that you got to see everything up front. Everything is very transparent and you were able to like pace yourself versus like all the programming that I'm finding for the PE exam seems to be that 3 month, 4 month, 6 month
mm,
timeline. So that's why I said, like, I'm gonna just start off by utilizing the study material that's become
mm.
available to me. Then for those last 3 months, it'll be kind of review in overdrive. So that's the
Yeah.
method I'm taking.
Yeah, we get that a lot from our students, like after they pass the FE. That's how sometimes we hear about our students, how they pass the FE, because they pass the FE and then they start preparing for the PE. And then a month in, they go like, well, they send us an email saying, I passed my FE like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and I'm trying to look for a course for the PE that's similar to yours. Or do you have a
Yeah.
PE course?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, unfortunately, I don't think there is one that's similar to our style.
Yeah.
I think especially the part where I film every single problem and I walk you guys
Hmm.
through every single problem and we solve
Hmm.
it together in a
Hmm.
video format. I think a lot of courses out there they just give you like quizzes and homeworks to figure out on your own. And
Hmm.
that's not studying for the test that we were
Yeah.
talking about earlier because
Yeah.
you gotta make sure that understand every single step that you're
Yeah.
learning, and
Yes.
that's hard to translate in a book or in
Yeah.
a handout. And I think
Yes.
that's really key, just walking students through those steps and
Yeah.
help them reinforce it. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, hopefully
Yeah.
we'll be launching some PE courses soon. So that's
Oh,
something we are
yes.
working
Yes.
on. So,
Yeah.
but yes, you guys will hear about it for sure once we have a date.
Good deal.
Yeah. All right, Marcy. Well, I have one more question for you. If a student comes up to you and asks you to list three things that really helps you pass your FE exam,
Hmm.
what would you say to them?
Ooh. I'd say, oh man, I feel like I dropped some good gems. And then this past hour, I didn't even realize how much time had gone by.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I tell them, um, one, start slow.
Hmm.
Start slow. If you're just starting out on this exam journey, start slow. And build your way up. Build your momentum. You will pass. Don't worry about the amount of time that goes by. It's gonna go by regardless whether you whether you pass or not, or whether you study or not. That time is going to go by. So just start slow and don't worry about how much time it's going to take you to pass. Focus
Hmm.
on, I guess this goes into number two. Um, Study to learn, don't just study to pass. If you
Mm,
study to learn, because when you get on that exam, NCES does a very good job of making sure that their questions are not out in the ether, you know, as far as I know.
yeah,
Um, so it's highly likely that you've never seen that exact problem before. But
yeah,
if you learn the concepts, learn it to not just pass the exam, but learn it to retain it and understand it, doesn't matter what problem or what question you come across on your exam. You're going to be able to do it because you
yeah.
know the concept and you've learned it. And then the last thing I would say is if you can make sure that um you build in I have I'm going to say my last one, I will say take practice exams.
Mm,
That was a game changer for me. So in total, I think I took about four practice exams.
mm,
So I took practice exam. So just off the bat, I think 2 weeks into me studying, I just took a practice exam just to see where I was, see how much I remembered. And I took your practice exam one time, the multiple choice one. Um, I took the NCES practice exam, the full length one. NCES had released the online version. It was just 50
mm.
questions, but I took that as well. That was a good investment as well. And then I also found a practice exam on Amazon. I think I gave that one to my boyfriend because he's studying too. He's getting ready to start. He's getting ready to pass as well. So, uh, I so that was four. Those are the four that I took. And when you take the practice exam, mimic the testing environment as closely as you can, and don't obsess over your score, but go over it, make sure you understand it, and you'll be fine. I think that was one of the biggest differences in between my third and my fourth attempt that made all the difference. Because you need to build up that endurance. Like it's a 5 hour exam. And for you to go, you don't even do 5 hours worth of work in one sitting when you're at work. You know what I mean? Or maybe you
Mhm.
do, maybe I don't. So like my work is broken up into hour and a half chunks. So you need to mentally prepare for that, and taking practice exams and mimicking the testing environment as closely as possible is the best way to do that.
Awesome. Well, Marcy, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your FE journey. I really enjoyed our interview and just hearing your story, hearing your tips. You shared some really great, amazing tips. I'm sure that a lot of people who's gonna watch this video, they're gonna find a lot of the stuff that you shared very helpful, very relatable.
Yeah.
We touched on some really good points that I think a lot of people would relate to and help them to get back to it and stay motivated and stay consistent and pass the FE exam. So thank you so much for being here today and sharing your journey with us.
Thank you so much, Kenza, for having me. I enjoyed it.